everybody, it's Alex here. Welcome to our Let's Talk Tuesday session. So this is a weekly session where I hop on video to usually elaborate and go a little bit deeper into the topic that I discuss over on my blog, or sometimes that I share privately with my email list. Now, if you're not on my email list, then please join my email list. I'll put a link below this video so that you can join the email list. Today, our topic, and I'm just going to open my notes up here. Today, our topic is, what do us busy mamas do when we feel trapped between getting stuff done and being there, being present, being supportive to and for our family? And I want to add another thing, because we often feel stretched between getting stuff done, whether it means getting a work report done or it means finishing up the dishes. We often feel that stretch between that and kind of, responding to our child's needs to play or need to be listened to, or just simple need of kind of being with them. But I want to add another element to this, which is about feeling stretched between those two callings and your own calling. So the calling that your body might have to take a rest, to take a break, to take a breather, or a calling you may have to journal or meditate or do some yoga or go for a walk. So really, as busy mothers, we often find ourselves in these situations where we need to make a choice. And sometimes this looks like, okay, do I sign up for the yoga class for the next 8 weeks? So it's a longer term choice. And sometimes it looks like, do I cook dinner, or do I attend to the tantruming child? So these choices that we make can be longer term decisions, or they can be in the moment, I've got 30 seconds to make this decision kind of feeling decisions. But what we are talking about is how to make those decisions. So what do you do when you're feeling stretched? And I always use this analogy of, the torture, the word escaped me, that torture device that they used where, people would have like all their different limbs stretched out and the plank would just widen and broaden and you would feel totally, well, I don't know what you would feel, horrible, that you were basically tortured as your body was being stretched apart. Okay, it's quite a morbid description, but there have been times where I have felt like my limbs were being stretched apart by all the different demands and needs coming at me. Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment because there seems to be a technological glitch. Sorry about this. So here's what I want to share with you. I want to tell you a story about what I did in this kind of a situation. And I need to give you some context in case you don't know me. And the context is this. I have 3 children. I run this online coaching practice, which I also offer like live coaching sessions too. And I have a very loud truck outside, so I hope that's not affecting the noise quality of this video. I also happen to have a husband who works very long hours and who travels a lot. And so I consequently, most of the time, am the lead parent, house manager in this family. I am also in a position where my children don't need me as much as they used to. So my youngest is 9, and where I have help in the house. A lot of it. It wasn't always this way. And the examples that I'll use to explain how you can use the strategy that I use, even if your kids are little, even if you're a single parent, even if you don't have any help, are relevant. And so I'll explain that as we go along, but I do have to give you that background. And I want to share with you something that happened to me last week. So basically last week, we live in Brazil. My husband works for an international organization, so we're often posted around the world, which in addition to everything that I explained above means that we move internationally. There's a lot of emotions to hold when we move internationally. There's a lot of logistics, and usually, guess who is the one who does that? So I am very familiar with the concept of stress and having to make decisions either on the spot or longer term decisions that require me balancing whether I'm going to get stuff done or whether I'm going to be present for the family. And the getting stuff done, there's a lot of it that I need to get done or that I need to ask other people to help me with. So last week we were in this amazing paradise in Brazil. Brazil is a beautiful country with some very beautiful spots. And so we were up north in a state called Ceará, and we were in a very small, underdeveloped beach town, and it was gorgeous. And ideas, I don't know if it was the New Year energy or if it was the Capricorn energy or what, but ideas were flooding to me. And I was so excited to share what was coming to me that I just sort of, I dove into it, and I wrote an email out, and I contacted Emanuela, my virtual assistant, and I just, went totally complete gung-ho, got totally excited about really diving in and getting, what I believe to be transformational content out to you, including a challenge that I called the Balance Dance Challenge, inviting everybody to join it. It's a free challenge. It is going to be a free challenge, but I'm going to park that for a minute. I got really excited about it all. I created a schedule, I created a plan. It turned a bit into a working holiday, but I was just really following this energy, this drive that I had to share stuff with my community and to move forward. And so that was this pull in the direction of, getting stuff done and following my calling and following my work and my business responsibilities and commitments, which incidentally often happens in January with the new year, right? New year, new you, new business, new work, new drive. So that's what was happening. And I went ahead and I made commitments to all of you. And then we came back home on Saturday, and I sat with my husband. We had spent a lot of time, I'm really sorry about the background noise. We had spent a lot of time actually going to okay, I'm going to shut my door because it doesn't look like it's going to end soon. So sorry. All right, I think it's ending now. No, it's not. Oh. Sorry about that. So what I was saying was that we had spent a lot of time, my husband and I, during the holidays, just reviewing 2019, what our main lessons were, and then thinking a little bit about 2020 and the changes that we want to make and where we want to focus, our intentions, our goals, and that sort of thing. So when we came back, we thought, okay, let's sort of start to think about our intentions and how we're going to turn them into, action. And we looked at our calendars and we started planning. And I realized that all that excitement, all that drive that I had, all that, amazing energy, that invitation, very, very valuable, really great ideas, but not implementable in the timeline that I had anticipated and that I had promised you. I have shut the doors in my office, but I can still hear it, and I'm very sorry It's actually just really bad luck. And this is also another example that I'm going to draw on in a second. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't move forward with the plan and the timeline that I had promised. And you know, in the past, what I would have done was simply plowed through. I simply would have kept going. I would have moved forward. I would have, you know, forced myself to stick to my word, stick to my commitment, and made it happen. It would have meant that I was stressed. It would have meant that the quality of the material that I was offering you, you know, I always offer the best that I can, high quality, transformational material, but it wouldn't have been the very best. My VA would have been stressed out. I would have been short-tempered and yelling at my kids a lot of the time. I would have been short-tempered and yelling at my husband a lot of the time. It wouldn't have been a very positive experience for me. I like to believe that the women who participated in the challenge and who participated in all the free offerings that I was given would have gotten amazing transformational results. But probably, if I'm honest, it wouldn't have been as amazing as it could have been if I had, you know, honored the amount of time and energy that it actually took to prepare you know, what I wanted to prepare for you. And so on the Sunday, when I looked at the calendars, when we both looked at the calendars and we realized what he had on his plate and some of what I already had on my plate, and I'll tell you about that in a second, couldn't be moved, I realized that I needed to call in my flexibility angel and change the calendar. And so I did. And yesterday I wrote an email to my email list, and now I'm telling you that I am very, very, very sorry, but we need to put off the challenge that I promised you last week. And so the reason we need to do it is because I want to offer you high quality content, transformational stuff. I want to plan it in advance, and I want to enjoy presenting it to you. I don't want to be rushed. I don't want to feel like a chicken without a head that's kind of just pulling things together and, you know, what's it called? Flying by the seat of my pants, which is how, you know, I've done things many, 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 many times. I really want to feel like I have got this. And I want to ensure that it's an experience that not only you all learn from, but that I learn from too, in that I learn how I can better what I'm offering along the way. So what I would have done before I learned what I'm going to teach you today, I would have just kept on going. I would have said to myself, you know, Alex, you made a commitment. What's a little bit of hard work? Don't be a wimp, push through. Don't be a wimp, push through. So that voice, which has a significant tone of authority, that voice is what I really would have listened to. I wouldn't have listened to the voice inside of me that was saying, this feels like a little bit too much. This feels like a stretch. It feels like you're not going to be the businesswoman, the mother, wife that you want to be if you want to stick to this timeline. I would have ignored that voice. I have ignored that voice for a very, very, very long time, and I would have pushed through. And like I said, it would have had its repercussions. You would have gotten a decent experience, but it wouldn't have been the optimal experience. So when I chose to step back and reflect and decide, you know, which of these two choices I was going for, I went for the one that felt better. Now, this is a story that reflects my life in general. In the email that I wrote yesterday to my list, I say, you know, this is the story of my life. The story of my life is having and learning how to make choices between getting it done. I have a really strong drive to get stuff done, a lot of Capricorn inside of me, to get stuff done, to achieve, to tick things off, to make a difference. So that drive, between that drive and the drive to be present, simply be, to support, to give care, to be the conscious mother that I want to be, I've often felt them kind of pulling apart and just really tearing, at my very fabric. And so I say, this is the story of my life, because even when my youngest was very little, and he was born, at the same time as my business was born, as my passion for coaching was born, they were born at the same time, and they pulled against each other. And it's only in 2019 when I learned how I could, from a place of wisdom and intuition, how I could actually make effective decisions when feeling torn in that way. And that's what I want to share with you today. Because if there is one thing that I have learned in the last decade as a mother of 3 kids, as a business owner, as the wife of an always traveling husband who works long hours, and an international nomad, and there's all these others kind of elements to my life. There's one thing that I've learned, it's that my body knows. My body knows. And that sustainable growth, sustainable evolution, sustainable development takes time. Sometimes it's slow, especially for somebody who likes to tick the boxes and get shit done, like me. So my dear friend and mentor, Kate Northrup, who I have talked about before, she coined a term called body first, business second. She works with entrepreneurs like me. You can replace that second word business with anything that you want to replace it with. But I think that this is a really important mantra, and I'll refer to mantras later on in the video, but this is a really important mantra that I want you to consider taking on. But before we jump into mantras, I want to talk about the 2 questions. They're like filtering questions that I use when I face a time management decision, or any kind of decision really in my life. And the first question is, how does my body feel? How does my body feel in either of these possible realities? So let's say I'm trying to decide, for instance, between going to the park with my kids and finishing off that email. Or I'm trying to decide, in the example that I just gave you, should I push through and get the challenge out to you by the 27th of January? Or should I, take it a little bit slower and push it back and put things together at a rhythm that, feels a little bit slow, but, also kind of honors my capacity and my other responsibilities, and the fact that my husband is traveling. So, when you're faced with these kinds of decisions, I want you to ask yourself, how does your body feel in these potential realities? And so that's question number 1. So in both of these potential realities, you can just sit there and you can just imagine yourself, rushing through whatever it is. In my case, it's like pulling together, cramming time in, sort of feeling frustrated because nobody's in my head and knows everything I do, and so my communication isn't as clear and succinct, and other people feel that. And my mind works very, very quickly, but I'm not always great at communicating everything that's in there clearly, okay? So, all these different elements, what feels better in your body is the question. Which possibility feels better? And usually it's going to be going to the park or putting off something that feels stressful to you. So that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, how is this going to influence your life 10 years from now? So if the challenge is going to be one of those things that I know is a make it or break it deal for my business, or if that email you have to write or that report you have to write is a make it or break it report that's going to make a difference in 10 years' time to you and to your work and to your purpose and to your calling in the world, then that is going to gauge the direction that you go in, right? So then maybe the park doesn't feel quite so right anymore, or maybe the kind of approach doesn't feel so right to you anymore. Postponing, canceling doesn't feel right to you anymore. That second question helps you to gauge what is important right now. So the first question, I'm going to repeat it. How does your body feel in each of these potential realities? Reality A, reality B, reality C, or option A, option B, option C. And then the second question, how is this decision going to influence your life in 10 years' time? Again, option A, option B, option C. How is it going to influence your life in 10 years' time? So you are, by asking yourself these questions, you're gauging, you're engaging your intuition and your body, one, and two, you're asking yourself a question related to sustainability and related to sort of bigger perspective wisdom. Then let's imagine you ask yourself those questions and you're still feeling a little bit like, I'm not so sure about this. This is when I want you to do a somatic exercise or an embodiment exercise. It's something where you really check in with your body. And this is something I've increasingly been doing and that I would invite you to do increasingly as well as a busy mother. A lot of the mothers that I work with say, I don't know how to intuition. So, and we have been trained out of accessing our intuition. So what I want you to do now is think of a crossroads in your life that you had in the past or that you have coming up, a decision that you have to make, even if it's about what am I going to make for dinner? That's like the classic decision. Usually, I want you to kind of just close your eyes and sit up straight and say to yourself, my name is, and then you say your name. So for me, it's my name is Alex. No, sorry, I'm doing it wrong. First you say, my yes is. What is my yes? And notice if you lean forward or if you lean back. And we're talking like micro movements, really, really, really small micro movements. When you say my yes is, and then just let your body kind of lean either forward or back. So for me, my yes is moving forward. Then you say, my name is, and you say your name. My name is Alex. And you can feel your body. You ask yourself, is my name Alex? You feel your body moving slightly forward, your yes. So when you're doing that, you're kind of just tuning into your body. My name is John. Notice what happens there. So in my case, I move slightly back. This is something that takes practice. Then you can ask yourself, for instance, for me, I ask myself, okay, do I run the challenge on the 27th in a rush, 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 go, go, go kind of way, stick to my word, be rational? My body moves back. I've gotten to a point where I feel it. It's an immediate response. Do I feel like having steaks and potatoes? I don't even finish a sentence and my body's moving back, right? So this is an exercise that you can practice doing and that is going to help your body, you get in touch with a body that knows what's right for you. So for me, it's like a 5-second exercise that helps me make a quick decision and that confirms decisions that I've already made. So that's kind of something that I also wanted to share with you. Now, before I get off, I want to share mantras that you can take away with you that can help to remind you of the power that your intuition and your body has when it comes to making choices. All right, like when you feel trapped in this way, know that the wisdom, because what we often do, and again, I'm totally drawing on Kate Northrup's wisdom here, what we often do is we ask other people, and that's totally fine as a second or third option. The first thing that I would do is go inwards and ask yourself, and most of the time, if you're well rested, if you're, well resourced, in other words, if you're practicing your self-care, what you can, the answer often will come up inside of you and you don't need to ask anybody. And isn't that amazing, right? This is true incidentally reading. You can see like a lot of the books behind me are parenting books. We read those and then we believe that they are completely prescriptive and we have to follow every single step, every single chapter. But if you're coming at it from this place of being well-resourced, knowing yourself, being able to kind of ask your body what feels right and what doesn't feel right, you have a capacity to discern from anything that comes at you, whether it be this video that I'm sharing with you, whether it be a book that you're reading on parenting or on anything else for that matter, whether it be a diet that you're following or a detox regime that you're following, whether it be, you know, a decision that you have to make about a camp for your kid or an activity for your kid or an activity for yourself. About a job application, quitting a job, keeping a job, all these sorts of things. When you're well-resourced, you're capable of making decisions that come from a place that we've increasingly been disconnected from. And what I'm inviting you to do by asking yourself these questions and by practicing this very simple somatic exercise is reconnecting and bringing, you know, your attention to that wisdom that sits inside of you and that lives inside your body. So here are some mantras that can help you. I've written them down. I'm looking over here on the right because they're written in my notes. So the first one is, and this is Kate Northrup's, I've already mentioned it, body first, business second. You can replace the word business with anything at all. You can replace it with body first, work second, body first, house second, body first, dishes second, body first, anything else. Body first, anything else second. Or body first, everything else second. So this is a really good mantra. If you have a pen and paper, I would write it down. Another one, happy wife, happy life, or happy mama, happy home. And for you to be happy, you need to be well. For me to be happy, I need to be well. Body knows best is another great mantra. I love this one. A wise woman lives here, hands on heart. A wise woman lives here. Know it and own it. A wise woman lives here. My body is worthy, I am worthy. Here's some great ones around sustainability. Like a lot of the time we think we need to get 100 things done and we need to get them done yesterday. And then we get them done, this has happened to me so many times, then we get them done and we realize, oh my God, that was crap. I mean, not only was the experience crap, but the result was crap because it was rushed, right? So how many times have I rushed through something and I've not only not remembered the experience, but the result is completely forgettable as well. So slow and steady wins the race. Sustainability over quick wins, always. These are a few of those mantras that help me to remember that, you know, it's all going to work out. Another great mantra. It's all going to work out even if it happens slowly. Life is unfolding. There's a really great quote about, you know, everything gets done in nature, but nothing's ever in a rush. I think it's nature gets everything done, but it's never in a rush or something like that. But that's another really great mantra. We are nature, our body, our intuition is nature, and our body and our intuition knows. So ask it. Now, here are some tips on how to integrate this into your life, or where to integrate this into your life. When you're having a conversation, a decision-making conversation with your partner, it's a great time for you to check in with yourself, you know, either during the conversation or after the conversation. It's always okay to say, I'm going to get back to you, honey. I need to have a think, or I need to have a feel, or I need to just check in with myself, you know, in a moment of silence. Or in a moment of peace, or in a moment of, you know, not having anybody around, a moment of solitude. It's okay to say that, and for you to, you know, ask yourself those questions, journal those questions out. If you are not, you know, if you're somebody who processes through writing, I am, then journal it out. Or you can, you know, do the exercise. When I was meeting with my husband this Sunday, when I was meeting with him this Sunday, I didn't have to say, I need to think about this. I knew, but I've been practicing this like for months now. Last year, 2019 is really when I started to practice it. It's made such an enormous difference. You can plan in this way. You can use this strategy in your planning. So I do a weekly, what I call planning for presence ritual on Sunday nights. And part of that is, you know, during the decision-making phase, as I'm going through my to-do list or creating my to-do list, I'm constantly checking in with my body. Okay? Here is something important. You can practice this when or one way of practicing this, I should say, is by postponing things, canceling things, saying no to things, delegating, getting help. These are all different ways for you to honor what your body is asking you to do. Now, I'm just aware of the time, and I want to honor your time. And I want to talk very briefly, as if I could talk briefly, but anyway. I want to talk a little bit about why this really, bringing these practices, using these questions in our day-to-day decision making, in our choices, in our actions, why using these questions in this practice is so countercultural, is so turns everything upside down around what we have learned about motherhood and what it is to be a good mother and a good partner and a good wife, a good housekeeper, all that stuff. And about productivity, all the messages. It turns all of that upside down. And I just want to explain to you why putting our body first, listening to our body, asking our body does that. So here's the thing. We, especially if you're in North America, but this is also true for many parts of Europe, I would say. And now, okay, I don't have a lot of experience in Asia, but possibly in a lot of, anyway, for many of the people who are, or many of the women and mothers who are in my community, I know this to be true. Anglo-Saxon, English-speaking cultures and other cultures, this is true. We are taught a lot of the time that rationality is superior to intuition, okay? And we are also taught that doing things, getting stuff done, is more valuable than being. So doing more is better, and our brain knows more than our heart or our gut. Okay, my experience, personal, my teaching experience, and research that I'm doing is pointing in the opposite direction. It is pointing to the fact that our intuition is just as valuable, and in fact, there's scientific evidence that's linking the gut to the brain and saying, you know, our gut actually has an intelligence in it, which is fascinating to me. And that, you know, so intuition has a value, and that we cannot do more if we aren't taking care of ourselves and we're not balancing it out with being and with leisure and with rest. And so that we have to honor that part of ourselves as well. And in addition, from a practical perspective, if you happen to be a busy mother, juggling lots of balls, spinning many plates, really big cognitive load, doing less is better, and I'm going to tell you why. It's better because when you do less, you enjoy what you do more. The results of what you do are better. You're able to be more present in what you're doing, but also because you're doing less, you're also able to be more present in being, right? A lot of the time doing less requires that you share the load with your partner or with other people in your family or your community, which is a more democratic and community-based way of living. Lowers stress levels, lowers anxiety levels, and you know, it clears our mind. So it ultimately relieves our loads. And so when it relieves our loads, physical, logistic, mental, cognitive, emotional, it opens up a space, head space, but it's also heart space. It opens up a space which boosts the quality of our time and the quality of our results. I'm kind of saying the same thing in different ways here. So whether it be work-related results, so the product, the ideas that you bring to the table at work, or home-related results, the quality of the time you spend with your little people, the quality of, you know, if you like cooking, the quality of the meals you're preparing, the quality of the space that you live in, all these sorts of things. It offers us a higher quality living. And the headspace allows us, and I would also argue the strengthening of our intuition allows us to live more to our potential, because nobody is going to step into a place of leadership without, or for that matter, excel in that position of leadership if they don't have a clear mind. Okay, when I say excel in a position of leadership, okay, I recognize that there are people in positions of leadership, and okay, while they may have clarity, I don't feel like they're truly and completely connected to their hearts. And I'm not a psychologist, but I know that some psychologists have agreed. I'm thinking of like some of the toxic male leadership that we've got going on right now. But if you want to step into a place of leadership, and I talk about leadership, leader in your family, leader in your community, leader in your fundraising drive around the block, leader in your volunteer work, leader in your paid work outside the home, leader in whatever shape or form you can imagine. When you have, without a clear mind and a connection to your intuition, you cannot step into that place of leadership or excel in that place of leadership in a way that will take the world where it needs to go. Do you understand? So you need that clarity of mind and that connection to your intuition to feel centered, to feel grounded in yourself in order to do that. And women, especially mothers, have been overwhelmed, undervalued, and for the most part unfulfilled for for thousands of years, and maybe even forever. So here you can think of your mother or your grandmother, and did they tick any of the boxes? Like, did they tick the unfulfilled, undervalued, overwhelmed boxes? Probably they did. This is why, or let me just explain. I believe that it's the patriarchal system that has become invisible to us because it's thousands of years old and we simply exist in it, that keeps us in these positions, and that it the system has required our free domestic labor as caregivers and largely social house managers or family managers. It's also required us to internalize its messaging and to remain sort of nice and good and smiley and docile in these positions of domestic carers, in order to maintain this patriarchal status quo. And in order to do that, it has successfully managed to weave its messages into us. So we don't even question, being helpful or caring or friendly or putting other people's needs first or undervaluing ourselves as mothers. How many times have I heard, Mom, I'm only a mom? I'm just going to say this. This is so upsetting to me when I hear that. You're a fucking creator of life and educator and upbringer of the future generation. That's what you are, only a mom. You're not only a mom. Your work is super important and you have so much to give to this world. So it's really important that we start to change. Now, this is where I get on my soapbox, as though I haven't been on it, but we need to change the patterning. So anything you do that ditches overwhelm, that values yourself, that seeks your own fulfillment, is an act of revolution, is countercultural, and letting your body into this and listening to your body and connecting with your body and listening to what it has to say is a huge step forward in this direction. So, I'm just looking at my notes here. I don't think I have anything else to say. I'm just going to do a really quick review here. What do you do? This whole Facebook Live has been about what do you do when you feel trapped between getting stuff done and being present for your family? I shared with you a story about how I, in the end, had to step back, reorganize my entire calendar for the next 3 months when I saw that it wasn't in alignment with what would be good for me and my body. And it would not be a sustainable pace or rhythm for me to maintain throughout the year. So I told you a little story about that. Then I shared lessons with you. I shared with you the 2 questions that I ask myself when I come face to face with a decision that, on how to move forward when it's a decision related to, do I get stuff done or do I stay present with my kids, right? And I shared those 2 questions with you. The first one, how does my body feel in each of these potential choices or potential realities? That's the first question. The second question was, how will this influence my life in 10 years' time? And then I shared with you a 1-minute decision-making embodiment practice that really to confirm your choice. I'm not going to go through it now, but if you are just watching this bit of the video, you can, watch it probably about midway through. I shared some mantras with you that can help, to keep you sort of in touch with this truth that your body knows, your body comes first. And then I shared different ways that you can actually implement this: planning, regular check-ins, saying no to people, canceling and postponing stuff, no guilt, right? No guilt, self-care, delegating, getting help. And then finally I wrapped up by sharing how this is difficult because it's countercultural, one, but it's fundamental because it's going to allow us mothers to have the headspace we need in order to, change the world, basically. So that's kind of where I wrap things up at the end. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so honored that you're listening to me. It's always a privilege. And yeah, bye.